It's day 25, 21,784 verses left. After the near miss with the baby yesterday, Solomon gets busy building his temple and his palace. When the work is finished, they bring the Ark of the Covenant into the temple and they sacrifice so many sheep and cattle that they can't even be counted. Now that's a lot of flipping animals, since they could count 120,000 sheep and 22,000 cattle at the end of chapter 8. The glory of the Lord fills the temple just like it filled the tabernacle back in Exodus 40 on day 7, and Solomon prays this prayer that we might have to come back to on day 28. Now if I go around to someone's house for a meal, they're lucky if I give them a box of Maltesers. Solomon gets a visit from the Queen of Sheba and she gives him 4 metric tons of gold. That's 178 million quid's worth in today's money. Man, I'm such a cheapskate. Every year Solomon receives 23 metric tons of gold, and because he's king for 40 years, that's about 41 billion quid. You know, give or take a billion. So he's rich, he's clever, he's successful. What could go wrong? Oh. You remember in day 14 there were instructions in Deuteronomy 17 about how the king should behave? Well, right here in chapter 11, it's almost as if Solomon's going... He's got 700 wives and 300 concubines, and they convince him to worship other gods. Oh, not this again. Solomon dies with the promise from God that because he's followed other gods, the kingdom's going to be torn away from his sons. At the same time, God promises a guy called Jeroboam that he's going to be king over 10 of the tribes of Israel as long as he follows God and worships him and keeps his commands. Solomon's son Rehoboam becomes king, and he asks for advice when the people come to him and say, hey, your father treated us really harshly. What are you going to do? The elders say to Rehoboam, treat them nice and be their servant and everything will be fine. And the young guys that Rehoboam grew up with say, tell him you're going to whip them with scorpions. That'll be really good. They were all pirates, apparently. This one moment causes a massive split in the people of Israel as Rehoboam ends up king over Judah and Jeroboam ends up king over all the rest of the tribes. But it turns out Jeroboam's horrendous and he repeats the golden calf thing from day 7, except you get 2 for the price of 1. Jeroboam sets the precedent for a catalogue of rubbish kings that follow. Tune in tomorrow for a beefy, fiery, prophetic showdown.